So you're having a problem at work and you want to go to HR, but they're not quite feeling like they're your friend. Here may be the reason why you're struggling to approach HR. Carissa writes, and there's many stories like this, Carissa writes, my HR manager specifically asked me if my boss was toxic. And I said, yeah, verbally and physically abusive. And a week later, Carissa was fired. Marco Antonio shares that in his HR class, the professor actually said HR's job function is to look out for the interest of the company. And Chime Girl writes, she's been in HR for over 30 years and she says, do not trust HR. We do the work that the executive management team doesn't want to do. Well, I want to bust some of those myths. I want to bust some of those myths for you today. Yes, we hear lots of stories about people who are struggling to get what they want from HR, and there's probably a few reasons why that is. And I'm going to reveal those in today's video so that you can have an experience like Marcus. Marcus writes, my HR rep is quite the opposite, to which I am very thankful. She makes herself available and cares about how we are feeling, personally and mentally. She's concerned about us, she checks in with us, she advocates for employees, and she listens to our grievances and brings them up to the appropriate person. Now, this is what we're talking about today. How do we partner with HR when maybe they don't feel like a friend, which, spoiler alert, they're not supposed to be a friend. A friend is someone who is in your social circle. There's someone on your Facebook page, and you do not want HR on your Facebook page, right? So we don't want to treat HR like a friend, but we do want to partner with them. So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips on how you can partner with HR to move towards resolution. And I'm also going to be sharing some expert knowledge from Catherine Matisse-Zundel. She was interviewed in the Dissolve Workplace Conflict Summit that I hosted in April. And if you'd like to get the full video and access the other 25 speaker sessions, there is a link in the description box where you can do that as well. Now, before we get into the 4 things you need to have in place before you go to HR, I want to introduce myself. My name's Tammy, and I am your guide to handling difficult conversations with confidence so you can keep your relationships intact. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification button so that you stay up to date with the content that is designed to help you keep that hard-earned reputation or reclaim it if it's a little tarnished, keep your career on track, and get you back to that peaceful, productive lifestyle. Now, you may not know that I struggled under a bully boss for 4 years and got really, really sick to the point that I was so afraid to leave my home, answer my emails, open my laptop because she was just always there. And while I reflected back on that journey through my healing process and now through my coaching with other clients, I realized there's some things that were missing that I didn't know about. Part of what I'm going to share today is how to use HR to your advantage, how to bring them on as a team member. All right, so I am all about putting the power in your hands and giving you the tools, the tips, and the tactics so that you can engage in a conversation and move towards resolution faster. Now, I think some of the mystery around why some HR departments are not friendly and others are friendly or helpful lies in our awareness of what they do and what they're capable of doing for us. There's a lot of expectations that when we go to HR that they can just solve our problems. Bam, just like that. But that's not always the case. So it was important for me to bring an HR perspective to this conversation because I am not in human resources. My background is nursing and education, and having come through the journey of being a target of bullying to the place now where I can say I'm an ex-target and I help others. So today's video is going to have something special. We're going to have little clips from Catherine's interview from the Dissolve Workplace Conflict Summit to really share with you the perspective from human resources and how we can position ourselves to work together. Now, the content in this video is going to help you no matter where you work. If you are in a small family business and you deal with the boss, or you're in a small business where the HR has been outsourced and so they're not on site, or you're in a massive organization where HR feels like they're in the 8th floor in a back corner office and you don't have access to them regularly, that's okay. The person that was responsible for your hiring and onboarding and getting you ready to work is likely your HR contact if you don't have an HR office. So the tips I'll share with you will work there as well. Let's do a little myth busting before we start, shall we? The first myth is HR is there to protect the employee. This is false-ish. As an employee, you are part of the organizational's commodities. Your welfare is important to the functioning, to the reputation, to the income, the client experience. But overall, HR's role is to make sure that the organization is following the policies and procedures and legalities set forth so that they don't put themselves in the place of litigation. And so while HR is there to assist you, they are also there to assist the managers, the supervisors, the CEOs in maintaining a safe workplace. I want to share with you what Catherine has to say about the HR role.
I think, it's HR's role to solve those kinds of problems. So ideally, HR's got to, walk the straight and narrow and really avoid choosing sides. HR, operates a little like legal counsel in some ways in an organization because they're focused on compliance and policies.
Now, myth number 2 is that HR has the power to actually make the changes that you want them to make. And that is simply not the case.
To keep in mind is, again, HR could take all that in and even be thinking, I know, I've seen it too, or I've experienced it too. But if their CEO isn't interested in solving this problem, then they're stuck.
So listen, in my personal experience, there was no department that was willing to support me. In fact, I was a workplace harassment advisor, and I went to my other colleagues who are advisors, and they encouraged me not to file any paperwork. And so as a result of that, I was in a culture that wasn't looking to make a positive change. They were looking to silence the squeaky wheel. That sometimes is the reality of the workplace. But I want to support you in preparing to go to HR in order to maybe sidestep that situation that I went through and really get your results that you want. So let's get into the 4 steps. Step number 1.
First of all, document all along the way. So it's possible in many cases, most cases, that you don't have any actual documentation. Like, maybe you have some emails that were written kind of nasty and you can print those out, but you may not have a lot of other sort of proof, right?
When you have that first moment of, hey, this isn't right, start to write things down. Make sure you create a trail of information to take to HR as to what it is you're speaking about. So what is it you want to write down? That's a really good question. We want to separate out emotion and fact. Consider this like a document you're presenting to the court. Your fact-based documentation is what HR is going to want to see. So you're going to want to include dates, times, people who were around, what the context was, and then what was said and done.
And the key here is to keep that documentation very focused on the facts and not emotions. So see a therapist or have a different journal for your emotions. This is meant to be something that could potentially be provided in court, for example. So you have to see it that way. So that's step number 1. It's going to be hard for HR to push you down if you've got 2 months of actual instances where this behavior happened. So that counts as documentation.
All right, step number 2 is so important, and it's one that we often overlook. I want you to answer the question, what did I do to solve my problem?
And a lot of people out there in my world may disagree with this, but from an HR perspective, I think it's super important. HR is really going to need to hear that you tried to solve it on your own. So I know there are lots of people out there who have said, I did try to approach this person and it made it worse. So it's like, do this at your own risk. But you want to be able to go to HR and say, here's what's happening. And I tried X, Y, and Z, and that didn't help. And that's why I'm in your office looking for help.
If you go to Human Resources and you go, hey, John's jokes are so offensive, can you talk to him? How much ownership do you have in that problem? Kind of sounds like a personal problem at this point, right? And I'd be wondering, well, what have you done? I'm going to ask you that if I was HR, which I'm not. I would ask you, well, what have you done? Have you talked to John? Have you shared with him how this is bothering you? And if you haven't done that, then an HR member, ideally, will guide you through how to have that conversation. What I see is a lot of people go to HR and they expect HR to do the dirty work that the employee themselves is not willing to do.
And I think that's some of where sometimes HR might feel like, well, the target's the squeaky wheel. Then you come across as helpless. And I'm sorry to say it, but you have to demonstrate that you are the proactive problem solver.
When you go to HR, if you go there, like say you continue to go and you're like, hey, John's up to it again, can you please address it? They will lose interest in supporting you. They're not going to make it a priority, because if you can't make it a priority in your life, why would they? Now I'm speaking on behalf of HR, and they're going to let me know in the comments below if I'm hitting the mark or I'm not. When it comes to you answering this question, what did I do to solve my own problem? you need to be able to articulate. Now, if you're too afraid to do anything, it's okay. I'm not saying you have to do something, but you need to think about the answer to this question, because when you go to HR and they ask you, if you're feeling too nervous, too uncertain, you're lacking the confidence, you don't know what to say, you share that with HR. But this is how you do it. John's jokes are so offensive, and I'm not sure how to tell him. I'm worried that they might get worse. I'm worried because he's my boss, he might job manage me. I'm worried I'll get fired if I speak up. Whatever your worry is, you want to express that. And then you ask them to help guide you. What can I do to make this stop? What can I do to make this stop? This is when your relationship with HR shifts. You're no longer going to them as the one who is solely responsible to fix your relationship. You're partnering with them. This is where we shift away from having silos to coming together to work towards resolution. So now, if you have done something, if you have tried to solve the problem and it's not resolving, perfect, you're still going to share that with HR and bring them in as a partner. And it would go something like this. I've been talking to John all week. Every time he tells a joke that I feel is offensive and it talks about putting women down in the workplace and where their place is, I share with him why I find it offensive and I ask him to not tell those jokes around me. But he continues to do that, and I've told him 3 times this week. I think I maybe need another strategy. What do you recommend? Do you hear how that sentence brings HR in as a partner? When you ask people for their guidance, they feel obligated to help you, and now they've bought into the problem and the solution, and they're going to be working and advocating on your behalf. All right, now I know that some of you are feeling like, no, that's not in my job description, or that's the boss's job to deal with this. I can promise you, it is in everyone's job description to be kind and loving and polite to your coworkers. And one of those things you can do, the best thing you can do, is be honest with them and say, hey, this is offending me. And I want to give you a chance to correct this. And if it's not corrected, I'm going to go to the next level and talk with the boss. That's my policy, right? To follow, and we're going to talk policy here in a minute. And if you're watching this and you're not sure what to say, I have a support for you. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the 10 safe conversational starters. And they address the 10 most offensive behaviors we see in the workplace that cause tension and conflict and could lead to claims of being bullied. Now, in the comments below, let me know if you have traditionally thought about your role in the conflict, or if you've just gone to HR initially as your first response to an issue. I'm really curious to kind of see where we're at in this group in terms of how many people try to negotiate a resolution and how many people find HR to be their first step. All right, so now that we have documented everything factually and we've considered what our role in terms of resolution has been, the next thing to do is determine, what do you want? So before you go to HR, I really want you to sit with this question for a while and think, what is it that I would want them to help me with? What would be the best outcome I could imagine? Is this about, often I'll hear people say, I want you to fire them. Or, they need to go take some training. I need an apology. I need a transfer. I need to go on leave. Whatever that is for you, know in your mind what you're looking for, because then HR knows how to support you best. If you just go in there and say, I'm having troubles with John and his jokes and he's not stopping, well, they may not think that's a big enough deal to move you to another department. They may not realize that you need to take some time off to get distance away from this and recover emotionally or mentally. When you can share the significance of your outcomes, it alerts your HR department to know that, ooh, this is serious. You actually want to transfer out of this department because of these jokes? I need to investigate this more. But it also helps them guide the resolution and to know what's possible to offer you. Now, a part of knowing what you want means that you've also looked at the workplace policies and procedures around workplace respect. If there's a bullying policy, what are the employee's rights and responsibilities? What are the organizational responsibilities? Yes, I will tell you that if you look at your employee responsibilities, you will see that there's some guidance in there as to how they expect you to manage conflict in the workplace. What might be some of the things that you want to share as an end game? Maybe you would like to take a week off. So you've come, John's jokes are offensive. I've talked to him 3 times this week. They're really starting to get under my skin, and I think I'm getting a bit more on edge. So I'd like to take a week off and get some distance. Sounds like a great plan, right? So you've come with the solution. They don't have to think about it. They're going to support it and off you go. Perhaps you'd like to have a transfer. You know, maybe you go, I've really considered this and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to work together again. And I know that there's an opening in this department. Would you consider transferring me? Ask. Don't tell them I want a transfer out. Don't demand I need to be transferred. Ask. People want to give. People want to support. So when you bring it in that perspective, they'll be like, let me see what I can do for you because I want to help you out. It sounds like you've done a lot of work. Now this is going to lead into step 4, and this is to have a backup plan, knowing that you may not get what you want from the HR department.
I do encourage you to really do some thinking about just kind of like what's going to happen if I don't get what I need. What are my choices? What choices am I willing to make? So understand that you may not get what you need. And so to really think through that, you know, if they tell me to kick rocks, then I've got my next step and I'm okay with that.
What are you willing to accept? Know that retaliation is a potential. It doesn't have to be a given, but it is a potential. If you're in an organization where the CEO does not buy into what you are sharing and what you want, it's possible that you will be the one who is let go. So have your backup plan. Well, there you have it. We have covered 4 tips to help you partner with HR even when they don't feel like a friend. And again, they're not supposed to be. So those 4 steps were, first of all, document everything. Fact-based, emotion, keep 2 separate journals. Ask yourself, what did I do to solve my own problem? And be able to address that and share it. Step number 3 is, what do you want? Be able to articulate your ideal outcomes and where you would like things to go. Asking again for support and help. And step number 4 is, what is your backup plan? Now, if you'd like more support or more access to ask questions to me, join me in the Facebook group. Obviously, you can drop your comments below here, and I do come back and I check them, but I'm most active inside the Facebook group. There's a link in the description box here below for you as well. And we go live in there once a week. We talk about different issues, answer people's questions, and you can certainly engage with me more directly there. Second, don't forget to pick up your free 10 safe conversational starters. That link is in the description box below as well. And if you are ready, if you are looking for a program, if you are tired of working in a place that is feeling like there's bullies everywhere, the conflict is getting too much, you're starting to feel physical, mental, emotional strain, and you want to get into a program that's designed to support you, there is a link down there to book a free epiphany call with me. And I'll ask you a whole bunch of questions and find out if maybe you're ready or if this is even the right next step for you to get back out from underneath that, right? Because I want you to get your reputation back. I want your career to get back on track. You went into this business for a reason, and I want you to feel that passion again. But more importantly, I want you to feel peace again. And I know when I went through it, I was fighting every day because I'm like, dang it, I can be productive. Just put me in an environment that's healthy. And I want you to feel productive and safe. So if you're interested in learning more, you can hit that link as well. And of course, support me here by subscribing and hitting that notification button, because then you'll get the content as it's released that's designed to help you do all of that stuff. I do weekly content here. And if you'd love to share this with your friends, I would be ever so thankful, because that is how I can help change the world and change the culture in the workplaces, by sharing these tips with other people. So share it with 5 of your friends who need to hear this message right now, and then comment below and let me know you've done that. And as always, my friends, you're only one conversation away.